First today, nurses and midwives will rally against hate speech in Sydney today as investigations continue into an alleged anti-Semitic video featuring two Sydney health workers while at work. The video, posted online by an Israeli influencer, shows the pair making threatening comments about Israeli patients.
So let's go straight to Myles Houlbrook-Walk, who is in Sydney again for us this morning. Myles, we've been hearing from a number of people through the show about this video. Just bring us up to speed.
Yes, so for those unfamiliar with this video, James, it shows two nurses at Bankstown Lidcombe Hospital in Sydney southwest using a video app, Chat Roulette, where you can be paired up with people from all around the world in video calls. It's there that during this discussion we hear some really quite obscene discussions and descriptions of the person they're talking to, an Israeli influencer, Max Weifer, and then they go on to say that if an Israeli person was in hospital, they wouldn't seek to assist them, in fact would let them die. Now, it's worth noting that while the video and the bits that we've broadcast already have been verified, there are elements of it which have been edited. Now, police are trying to obtain the full video as part of their investigation. Already there have been some concerns raised about, well, if this is the attitude of two nurses, what does this mean for the care people can get within the health system within New South Wales? The Health Minister, Ryan Park, spoke to News Breakfast, reassuring people that it's very much the case that if you go to a hospital, the care will be high and without any sort of discrimination.
We've really only begun that detailed work, and I have to do this thoroughly. It has to be done very, very diligently, because I want to be able to make sure that I can assure the community, and in particular the Jewish community who are hurting over the last 24 hours, that they can continue to have faith, confidence and trust in our health and hospital system here in New South Wales.
Now, in addition to the health investigation that's taking place while these two nurses are stood down, there's also a police investigation. Karen Webb, the Commissioner of Police, called the incident a sad day for the country and said Strike Force Pearl, a strike force that's filled with detectives aimed at investigating anti-Semitic incidents, said that she would be looking closely at this incident and throughout the night there would be updates, and as of this morning she is intending to speak to the public to provide an update on the investigation and where it's at. No one has been charged over the incident, though, as yet, James.
And we'll bring you that update when it happens. Myles, we've had a number of people on the show speaking about this, including members of the Jewish community. What have some of them had to say this morning?
Well, we've heard, as you say, from the Executive Council of Australian Juries, Alex Ryvchin, who spoke about this phenomena, about particularly for Israeli or Jewish people trying to interact with the healthcare system and the genuine concern they now have, and whether that's reconsidering where they go for medical treatment or if they have things that are obviously identifying for themselves as Jewish, about how they have a fear now of interactions with the healthcare system. Here's Alex Ryvchin.
There will be a fear, and I've had many messages from members of the Jewish community asking things like, should I have my Star of David tattoo removed lest I be in the hands of a paramedic or a nurse or an orderly that holds these sorts of views? And the fact that people are now transferring elective surgeries to hospitals which they think might be safer for them. The fact that Jewish Australians need to think about these things, and not just Jewish Australians, all Australians. This has been a blow to their belief and their faith in the health system in this country.
Now, we've also heard from the Nurses and Midwives Union in New South Wales. They were initially going to hold a rally today that had been scheduled some time ago regarding pay and conditions due to an enterprise agreement where they're negotiating with the government. That's been cancelled and instead will be replaced with a march against hate speech and in solidarity with those impacted by these comments. Now, where you usually see these affairs are quite boisterous and spirited, this is much more likely to be a solemn event. Indeed, there are many people widely concerned, well beyond the Jewish or Israeli community, about this incident, and as a result we're going to hear from many of them, including the Premier of New South Wales, Chris Minns, who's speaking later this morning.
All right, Myles, thank you, and we'll have more on this story throughout the program, but it's time now to go to Nate, because we've got a couple of life-threatening weather systems heading across different parts of the country.
Morning, James. It's a real concern for the northwest of WA that we've got today because just this morning, Tropical Cyclone Zelia, now severe Tropical Cyclone Zelia, is a Category 3 system and it's expected to intensify rapidly, likely reaching Category 4 strength later this morning and Category 5 strength probably this afternoon. And we've got some cyclone warnings on from Bidjadanga right along the coast to Dampier. That's for gale force winds developing within the next 24 hours. The Bureau is saying we could see wind gusts to 160 kilometres an hour today as this system hangs offshore, really building strength. It's not just the winds that we're concerned about, although that comes from the Category 5 status. This system is also bringing widespread wet weather. We're expected to see intense rainfall, likely to lead to flash flooding and riverine rises. In fact, we've already got some minor flooding going on in the north of Western Australia with hundreds of millimetres potentially to come. Add into that as well huge seas, with the swell, especially to the east of this system, expected to be significantly above what you'd normally expect this time of year. Coastal inundation is likely. Now, it's making its way towards the coast, probably for a crossing as a Category 5 system on Friday. It's likely to happen just to the west of Port Hedland, which puts Port Hedland itself in the dangerous flank of this system. We're going to see it coming towards the coast through the day today. The Bureau is staying across the latest. They are concerned about what's going to happen with the winds as it makes landfall.
We could be talking about wind gusts over 200 kilometres an hour, potentially up as high as 290, which is absolutely devastating to any structures, houses, property in its path, as well as widespread heavy rainfall and locally intense rainfall, which could well lead to flooding. So it is likely to be a very powerful, very severe system as it does reach the northern WA coast tomorrow.
We're going to keep an eye on that situation, of course, and we'll take you up to the northwest of WA later in the hour, team, because conditions already very much deteriorating up that part of the country.
Thanks a lot, Nate. Let's get the latest news now from Charles.
Thanks, Bridget. While WA is keeping an eye on that cyclone, an emergency level bushfire is burning on Tasmania's west coast, with authorities urging anyone in Sandy Cape and surrounds to take shelter immediately. The blaze is out of control and is threatening lives and property. Authorities say embers may cause other fires that may move in many directions. Firefighters in the area have been battling several blazes and are hoping some rainfall in the coming days may help. Authorities say the pine forest Moore Hut on the overland track has been lost to fire. There are growing concerns about the gambling risks that young women face, with researchers and advocates saying this cohort is gambling at rates never seen before. In one case, a 21-year-old medical student says she lost around $20,000 to gambling in 2 years because she became addicted after downloading a solitaire cash app. The Institute for Health Transformation says gambling participation rates for women are the same as men, with 1 in 2 women gambling on some form of product at least once a year. Papua New Guinea's equivalent of the ATO is grappling with the fallout of a major cyber attack, and Australian businesses may be impacted. The ABC can reveal PNG's Internal Revenue Commission has been hacked, with sensitive data belonging to hundreds of thousands of people potentially compromised. A PNG tax agent says the situation is extremely concerning, with services offline for more than 2 weeks. The IRC has not notified the PNG public about the attack. The Solomon Islands government says police are investigating claims of vote rigging at last weekend's Miss Pacific Islands pageant. Samoa's Latira Iramia Allen won the regional pageant, but accusations of rigging have marred the show. Pageant judges were temporarily blocked from leaving the country, but were allowed to move freely around the capital. The government says the stop notice was lifted after 2 days and charges could be laid. Well, a herd of 9 Asian elephants have arrived in their much larger new home in Werribee after leaving the Melbourne Zoo. The new $88 million habitat is the same size as Melbourne's zoo's entire footprint. That is equivalent to 5 MCGs. Werribee Open Range Zoo says the elephants were a little cautious when they arrived, but they seem curious and excited to be in their new home.